get this out to more people and help people who are feeling, as you've seen on this live, people feeling really lost. Where do you stand with this? What's your thoughts seeing this live and hearing what people are saying?
Well, first of all, my pleasure. You know, for me, this is about getting the message as far and wide as possible. I think what is happening in the world currently, and has been for years and years and years, is just serious disconnection from ourselves, from others, and from source. And from coming away from London and where I am right now, it's just absolutely clarified all of that for me. And just these Western mainstream narratives that are being perpetuated at the moment to scaremonger everybody and completely disconnect us from ourselves and really forget our own innate wisdom and our own innate power and our natural body's intelligence to really survive off the land. You know, when you think back to the indigenous tribes, they survived from Mama Earth, you know, and we've just really forgotten who we are. And that's kind of my standpoint on it. And I'm coming from the more spiritual side of things, but I'm so grateful to have people like you out there who are being able to kind of bridge the gap with like scientific evidence and things like that. So tell me a bit more about you and like your standpoint.
Well, first of all, like, I'm so grateful not just to have you here live with me today, but that we've connected, because, you know, I think you and I had that instant connection. We were talking about the divine feminine, and like, that's what we need to come forward. And, you know, as a life and business coach, it's the work that I do is very much grounded in spirituality and higher consciousness. And so with Awaken Media, that I only set up a couple of weeks ago, because the media just aren't reporting, you know, that it's one narrative, right? And so the whole tagline for Awaken Media is asking questions and raising the vibration. So I couldn't agree with you more. Like, we've become so disconnected, and I moved from London last October for that reason, because my whole body was like, you need to get in nature more. You need to get more in nature. And I'm hearing so many people say that as well. What's been your experience with where you're at? Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, you know, connecting to nature is probably one of the best things that you can do right now, like getting grounded, you know, connecting back to source, because and just reconnecting back to your bodies, and ways that you can do this, you know, from indigenous teachings and these practices that go years back. Like, there's a reason why they're there. And you know, when I talk about trauma, and the reason I'm studying trauma is because trauma is the one thing, like, significant events that happen in our lives, you know, you might classify as trauma. Often we don't even know that we've experienced trauma, you know, we don't even think of it as trauma, but trauma is the one thing that actually kind of like, disconnects us so much from our sense of self, because it's made us feel unsafe, like in a particular environment. And so the reason why I'm studying trauma is to help kind of get past those layers, deprogram, reprogram, and then help people connect back to themselves. And the way that you do that is through embodiment. Now, embodiment is a practice which brings people out of their minds and back into their physical body. And ways in which that you can do this from the indigenous teachings are through like singing, through dancing, through stomping, through shaking, through all of these different methods of release and expression to bring you back into your body. And, you know, going outside, connecting with nature, putting your feet on the floor, self-massage, self-touch, singing, dancing, moving that energy through your body. You know, they're brilliant ways of just reconnecting. But yeah, it's just insane what this last year has done to everybody. Like, everyone right now, I'd say above 90% of people are living in their in their sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight mode. And to bring you back out of that and back into your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, we need to understand how we can do that and bring our bodies back into a state of safety and calm.
Completely. And we're in a collective trauma, right? This is an ongoing collective trauma that we've been experiencing over the last 15 months. So the work that you're doing with trauma it's never been more important to do all of this, like this embodiment work, like you say. What do you think's now? Like, obviously I titled this today, Use Your Voice or Lose Your Voice. What do you think about that?
So listen, it can be incredibly scary. It can be petrifying, because ultimately what you're doing by trusting your intuition and using that inner voice, which you really believe to be true, can be absolutely terrifying in a space where we're completely made to feel like going against the narrative, you know, we're going to lose everything. And we're not the general consensus, but ultimately everyone's feeling it deep down. And, you know, potentially we're going to be judged, or we're going to be shamed, or we're going to be made to feel guilty, or we're going to be made to feel fearful, you know, and these are all of like the lowest vibration energies and emotions that we could possibly feel. But this is where I want to use my voice and let people know is that I'm not scared, and I will do whatever I can to lead the light of hope and lead with love, most importantly, because we get absolutely nowhere by shaming anybody. We don't. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are criticizing others, and I just don't believe that's the way forward. You know, we need to rise up as the divine feminine and let these people know that it's okay to soften, that it's okay, you know, to become more grounded, and that we're going to receive that and not shame people and not make people feel guilty, you know, because that doesn't make other people feel safe to come to this side. You know, it's not about taking sides. It's just about welcoming with open arms and letting people know that it's safe, and love is the highest vibration. So, you know, whatever it takes for people to feel safe and to feel like they have a voice, my message to you is that please use it, because we welcome you with open arms and love, you know.
Beautiful, beautifully said. And that is so true. You know, just my experience of being on the ground when we first started Awaken Media at the last Freedom March in London was that it was like being at one big festival of love. Everyone so heart-centered, people from all walks of life, you know, mothers, teachers, lawyers, doctors, policemen, like, you know, celebrities, like everyone. And, you know, who is feeling like this past 15 months has not been right, like, you know, and some people who are just kind of have awakened to that. So thank you for using your voice as well, because it really matters and it helps. You're helping so many people to feel safe to speak out, especially with what you've just said. And there's a huge community. There are millions of us around the world who really care and are standing up for our freedoms and future rights. And it is from a heart-centered, kind of loving, compassionate. It's about unity, ultimately, us all coming together and getting back to our inherent nature, which is heart-centered. And
how are you feeling about the march this weekend?
I'm really excited because I went to the one in May. I was really anxious going to that because that was the first big one that I'd been to, and it was incredible. It was like, you know, think about Notting Hill Carnival. It was like that, but, you know, everyone marching together for a reason, and it really did feel like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a shame you can't be there.
I know. You know what? I'd really love to come, but I am currently just like being called to be where I'm at right now. I've got a lot of work that I need to do, but I will be there with you in spirit, and, you know, whatever anybody needs, just like feel free to reach out. I'll try and be there as much as I can for support. My heart is there with you.
Amazing.
But yeah, you're right. You know, like, this is about unity and community more than anything. You know, it's like we need each other. We need each other regardless of skin color. You know, we can go into a whole bunch of stuff about this, about like decolonization, systemic racism, patriarchy, all of that. You know, there's so much that comes into this, but, you know, right now we just lead with love, and we just hold space for everybody and anybody, you know. And I just send so much love to the march on Saturday, and may Source be with you.
Yes, I'm going to be taking all of my crystals and staying grounded and protected. And actually, a lot of us do a meditation before. So I will post on Awaken Media about the meditations, because we do actually really call in higher energies to be with us and march with us. And the vibe is amazing. So anyone who's going for the first time, just know that you will be protected. You will be surrounded by, you know, 1 million+ people on the streets of London who are like-minded, who have got you. So 26th, this Saturday, London, Hyde Park, the start. Alexandra, you definitely will be with us in spirit.
I will be. I will be. If there's anything that you need me to share or post, just let me know, just to get the message out there. But yeah, you are, this is a message from source. You are divinely protected at all times. Ancestors are with you. They're ready to march. They're ready for you to lead.
Just before we wrap up, how did you start your spiritual journey? Have you always been kind of really spiritual and into these practices? Was it a big awakening for you as well? It usually is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's probably like a lot of people kind of saw it maybe on my social media at the beginning of this year. I think I even posted something saying, I think I'm going through a spiritual awakening. And, people were messaging me being like, your message is so confusing. Like, we don't know what you're doing. I'm like, listen, you're seeing it. I'm actually living it. Like, I have no idea what's going on right now. And I was like going through a real moment of grief in my life, and it was like the lowest vibration energies that I was feeling. And I'm not going to lie to people, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because people, there's a lot of new age spirituality stuff which is just like all love and light, and let me tell you, it's not like you have to, for you to see the light, like it takes a lot of darkness too. And so I experienced that, and ever since I've just been following, I've just been trusting, I've just been surrendering, living in or trying to really step into my divine feminine and just be where I'm being guided to go. And so right here, like right now, is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And the path is different for everyone. It's different for everyone. Shadow work is super important. Inner child work is super important, where you take a step back and you start to look at the parts of yourself which aren't working for you anymore. It's like you get tired of your own shit. You get tired of these same patterns keep repeating themselves, and you're like, all right, this isn't working for me anymore. Like, I need to reprogram. I need to change the narrative here, because this isn't serving me. So it's been quite public, but in a way I'm happy about that, because people have seen me really suffering, but now really stepping into my light and into my power and my purpose. And that for me is magical, like to be able to do that so publicly. It's felt really heavy at times, but wow, also magic,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because what you're doing in going through this so publicly is helping people to not feel so alone. Because there's a saying in the whole coaching industry, what's most personal is most universal, right? And we're going through, I keep saying, we're going through a collective dark night of the soul right now, and a collective breakdown before the breakthrough. So for I can't remember who it was that commented, you commented like the world's falling apart. There's always a falling apart before the creation of the new, right? So this is what we're collectively experiencing, similar to what you were just saying, Alexandra, about experiencing that personally. Dark night of the soul, right? And it's painful, and it's, you can't run away from the shadows and the darkness. But there is light.
It's
there's
heavy.
Always light at the other side.
Yeah, and you know what? And this is it. It's like, it's the fear, right? So fear is getting us all at the moment. But fear is just an emotion. And for as long as we can just understand and be aware that it's there, awareness is key. We then feel it, and then we don't hide in it, because none of us know what's on the other side, but we have to surrender to it. And this is where, like, I really encourage that divine feminine energy to just come in and just surrender, because there's so much beauty on the other side, but we have to just help people and the world soften, because all this control, this greed, this manipulation, it's not working. The deep shadow work that's going on as the collective right now. So, there's love and joy and hope on the other side. We've just got to feel it.
Thank you so much. Is there any one thing, if there was only one thing that you could, this is what I ask people on my podcast, by the way, if there was only one thing that you could say to the world right now, what would it be?
Step into your truth and your power without fear.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I will message you about everything on Saturday, and we'll be in touch, and we're speaking later this week anyway. Thank you so much.
We will. Thank you.
Lots
I hope
of love.
Help get their message out. Speak soon.
Amazing.